Hello, everyone out there. I don't have any personal update as far as my trying to conceive journey, but I did just finish a book I wanted to tell you guys about, and it's called The Fertility Diet. And heard about it when stopped by the bookstore. I have no ties to the authors or anybody. I just saw it, liked it, got it. The subtitle is Groundbreaking Research Reveals Natural Ways to Boost Ovulation and Improve Your Chances of Getting Pregnant. So it really focuses on the things you can do to improve ovulation. And the whole book stems from what they call the Nurses' Health Study. And it began about 30 years ago at the Harvard School of Public Health. And they initially wanted to track if birth control pills had long-term health effects. And basically it turned into a much bigger study than that, and they've been able to pull out all kind of data points about different health-related things these women face. And one of the things these doctors have focused on is the things that made the difference in fertility. So they have 10 main things that they saw had a correlation with fertility or lack thereof, especially regarding ovulation. So that's why it interests me, because I think that's primarily my problem. But the first thing they talk about is avoiding trans fats. And trans fats are kind of a weird, mainly man-made fat where they bubble hydrogen through oil, and they call it partially hydrogenated. You may have seen that on some food labels. The ingredients, and they're bad for your arteries, bad for your health in general, and according to them, bad for ovulation and fertility. You can find trans fats in fast food and a lot of prepackaged food, and now they have to indicate on the dietary doohickey on the back how many trans fats a product has, and they're allowed to say 0 trans fats as long as it has less than 0.5 milligrams or grams of trans fats. And us Americans, we eat 2-3 servings at a time. So if it has 0.4 trans fats, 3 servings is 1.2 of trans fats, and that's they say the threshold is 0 trans fats. So we should really strive to get none in our diet. The second thing they stress is getting good fats. And good fats come from unsaturated fats. And primarily olive oil, canola oil. It's good to cook with those, get those in your diet. The third thing they talk about is protein. And the source of protein matters. Not just getting enough, but where it comes from. They indicated that the balance of protein in our diet should really come from vegetable protein, and that's beans, nuts, things like that. Whereas they're not trying to say be a vegetarian. They're not down on animal protein, but the balance should be more vegetable protein than animal protein. And they do advocate fish and in moderation, and poultry and some pork, but they do recommend staying away from beef. So where you get your protein matters. Another thing is to choose whole grain foods like brown rice instead of white rice, and whole wheat bread instead of white bleached bread. Basically that comes down to the glycemic index, and we want to eat foods that don't send our blood sugar through the stratosphere and cause that, huge release of insulin. And so whole grain foods tend to help keep our blood sugar a little more steady. So that was an important thing. The fifth thing they talk about is one of the most surprising and interesting things that they had to say, and that is their view on milk. And they recommend, and they saw a direct correlation with women in the study that drank whole milk. So they recommend getting 1 serving, which I think is a cup, of whole milk every day, or whole fat, full fat yogurt or full fat dairy, some type. They have a couple theories on why that's the case, and it's milk comes from lactating cows, and they're lactating because they're pregnant or they have just been pregnant, and the milk contains hormones. I mean, they have hormones. Their milk has hormones, and they hypothesize that removing the fat from the milk to make skim milk or a lower fat milk throws off the balance of estrogens and androgens and other hormones in the milk, so that we get more of one and more of the bad ones and less of it. Just throws off the balance. And another thing that they say is when you take fat out of milk, it turns it a weird color, like a bluish color, and they put protein back in it to try to turn it back more white. And I don't think the protein they put back is endogenous to the milk, and it's just they don't know the interaction, but that they hypothesize that may be a factor, is the protein they put back in. So if you're going to drink milk, drink whole milk. The next thing they talk about is a multivitamin. We should have a multivitamin that contains folic acid, at least 400 milligrams, and more if you're trying to conceive, and also to get plenty of iron. They saw a correlation between women that had adequate iron and their fertility, good fertility. We can get that from a multivitamin or from fruits, leafy vegetables, beans. There are other sources other than multivitamins, but if we take our multivitamin, we'll get hopefully enough iron. Another thing they discussed was beverages matter. Water is king. Water is number one. Coffee and tea and alcohol are okay in moderation, but water should be number one, and we should stay away from sugary sodas and fruit juices, and this is just my little aside, but I would also stay away from artificial sweeteners, such as in diet drinks. But so water, drink water. Next to last thing, number 9, is to aim for a healthy weight. And they talk about how dropping 5 to 10% of weight could have a huge difference on ovulation. And they talk about a fertility zone or a fertile zone of BMI, body mass index, between 20% and 24%. That's the sweet spot to shoot for when you're trying to conceive, and that is a lot easier than it is to talk about, because I'm not anywhere near there, but I'm working toward it. So between 20 and 24% body fat. And the last but not least, is to be physically active. Have an exercise plan, and they talk about intensity of the exercise. And there's a myth that if you exercise hard, you can throw off your cycle, have no periods, have trouble conceiving. And really that is for fine-tuned athletes that have very low body fat. It's all about body fat. So really hardcore athletes tend to have very little body fat, and that's essentially what can affect the cycle. So I'm quite confident that I could go out and exercise hard and really work it on the bike or tennis or whatever, and I would not be in danger of throwing anything off. So exercise, very important. Like I said, I don't have any ties to this book. It's just a good book. I'd recommend it. I'm a science geek, so it has a lot of good science to back up what they're saying. I'm reading a new book called Healing Gourmet, Eating for Fertility, I think that's what it's called. So when I finish it, I'll definitely let you know about it. And I just wanted to, give you guys a brief overview. Hopefully something will help. And, we just got to keep on keeping on, and, let's get after it. Let's just get out there and do it. All right. Bye.